Hi, Steve here with digitalphotographygear.com, and today I'm going to be talking about what the best Canon zoom lens is. And if you're brand new to photography and you don't know, zoom lens is different than a fixed focal length lens. Zoom lens covers a range of focal lengths. For instance, this one goes from 24 to 70 millimeters, as opposed to a fixed focal length lens, or a prime lens as they're called, which covers only one specific focal length, like a 35 millimeter, 50 millimeter, or 85 millimeter, for instance. So Canon makes a whole bunch of zoom lenses, and you can break them down into three categories. There's ultra-wide zooms, standard zooms, and telephoto zooms. So starting with ultra-wide zooms, Canon makes four. One of them is the 8 to 15 millimeter fisheye lens, which is a very interesting lens. It's the only fisheye zoom that I've seen around. It is a circular fisheye on a full frame camera at 8 millimeters. You zoom into 15 millimeters and it becomes a full frame fisheye lens, again on a full frame SLR. If you have an APS-C sensor SLR like a 7D, 60D, or Rebel series, there's really only one choice that Canon makes in terms of ultra-wide zooms, and that's the 10 to 15 or 10 to 22 millimeter EFS mount lens. It's the only ultra-wide zoom that is specially made for APS-C sensors, but fortunately it is an excellent lens. If you have a full frame camera, you have a couple different choices. You have the 16 to 35 millimeter f2.8, which is right here. This is what I use. It's a really nice lens. Or they also make 17 to 40 millimeter f4L lens, which is comparable to the 16 to 35. It covers a slightly and not quite as wide of a focal range. This starts at 16, goes to 35. Obviously the 17 to 40 goes from 17 to 40 millimeters. It is also one stop slower at f4, but it is less expensive than the 16 to 35 as well. Going from there, there's a standard zooms that covers wide range, from on a full frame camera from about 24 up to over 100 millimeters in some cases. So if you have a full frame camera, there are a couple of really good choices. There's the 24 to 70 f2.8L lens, which is right here. I have it mounted on a 5D Mark II, and they also make a 24 to 105 millimeter f4L that has the image stabilizer. It's a little less expensive than the 24 to 70. It is one stop slower at f4 as opposed to f2.8, but on the other side of the token it does go to 105 millimeters as opposed to 70 millimeters, and it does have the addition of image stabilizer as well. And the 24 to 105 is bundled as a kit lens with the Canon 5D Mark II and brand new Canon 5D Mark III as well. So those two lenses I definitely recommend as a standard zoom if you have a full frame camera. If you have an APS-C sensor SLR, I definitely recommend the 17 to 55. It's an EFS mount. It's f2.8, has image stabilizer. It covers roughly an equivalent range of focal lengths as the 24 to 70 would on a full frame camera. It's smaller, it's lighter. It definitely makes a really nice standard zoom for an APS-C sensor SLR. Or also, like, the 24 to 70 makes a perfectly great lens on an APS-C sensor too. It does tend to be a little not quite as wide as I would prefer, but it depends on what you're comfortable within your comfort range in terms of focal lengths. But yeah, so for full frame, definitely 24 to 70 or the 24 to 105. For full frame APS-C sensor SLR, I definitely recommend the 17 to 55 f2.8 with IS. Moving on from there, there's the telephoto zoom category, and what's considered to be kind of the gold standard of telephoto zooms is the 70 to 200. Canon makes a whole bunch of different varieties. They make 70 to 200 f4, 70 to 200 f4 with IS, 70 to 200 2.8, and a 70 to 200 2.8 with IS. This one is the 70 to 200 f2.8 with IS. This is the version 2 of that lens. They have the version 2, which is obviously newer than the version 1. And as you add the IS and you get the faster aperture of f2.8, of course the cost goes up as well. So there are different different choices you can have within the 70 to 200 category, depending on your needs and your budget. So that's nice that they make so many different types of 70 to 200 lenses. If you need a little more reach, they make a 100 to 400 lens. It's also an L lens. It goes definitely, obviously, further than the 70 to 200. It's great for wildlife and sports. They make also, what's interesting is a 28 to 300 millimeter L lens, which covers a whole range of obviously 28 millimeters to 300 millimeters. So it's a very, very versatile lens there. But image quality is good. It's an L lens, so build and image quality are really good, but you're going to get better image quality if you have high quality lenses separated, so you can get the best image quality for without I feel like they're sacrificing versatility for quality with that lens. If you're on a budget and you have APS-C sensor SLR, the 55 to 250 millimeter EF-S mount lens is surprisingly a really good value. It complements the kit lens that comes with a lot of Rebels. The 18 to 55 millimeter complements that lens really well. But yeah, and it's only a couple $100, so it's definitely very affordable. What I always tell people when they're looking for recommendations for lenses is I definitely like to have more than one lens, just for more versatility and more creative control. You can cover a lot with just two lenses. For instance, one of the most popular combinations among professionals and serious hobbyists alike is the 24 to 70 millimeter lens and the 70 to 200 millimeter lens. You can cover a whole lot with just those two lenses alone. Everything, especially if you're using a full frame camera, 24 millimeters is wider than it will be apparently on a APS-C sensor SLR. So yeah, 24 millimeters all the way up to 200 millimeters, you can cover a lot with that. And if you're if you have, let's say, an APS-C sensor SLR, and if you have a very strict budget, you can cover a lot of the same ground with the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens and the 55 to 250, which I just mentioned. So those are just two of the two lens kits that I recommend that you can cover a whole lot of a whole wide range with. But there are 28 zoom lenses that Canon makes in total, so there are a lot of choices out there. But definitely do your research, figure out what works best for you. If you do a lot of sports and wildlife, you can invest more in a longer lens, whereas kind of not put as much money towards a wide angle lens. Whereas if you do more landscapes and real estate, then it would be more wise to invest in an ultra wide zoom as opposed to a telephoto lens. So that's my advice for picking out a zoom lens. And join me next time when I review some more gear and talk about some more photography stuff here on digitalphotographygear.com.